everybody. Welcome to the Daily Crossing episode number 35. That's it. We're finally heading into midlife crisis, I guess. You know what I mean? But very steadily. Lorena, great to see you today. We're going to carry this conversation together. There's a number of things that we definitely want to talk about, but at the center of this conversation, the one thing that we cannot ignore is everything that's going on with immigration.
Yeah.
So we're going to dive into a couple of things that's taking place with not only at the border, but obviously some of the things that at this point every news channel is talking about, especially the reaction of the mayor of New York. I'm sure he never intended to create that type of soundbite for everybody, but it's there, and we're going to have to dissect it a little bit. In addition to that, Bill Gates decided to make a significant size investment into Bud Light, right? And the first reaction for many people, just reading different comments, different sources, the first set of comments that I kept seeing was, like I needed another reason not to drink this beer ever again, but I'm definitely not touching it. Well, I want to touch into that because in reality, it could be an incredible business opportunity, right? It could be an incredible investment for some people. Then, in addition to that, man, this whole conversation about former President Barack Obama, who introduced us to The Audacity of Hope, phenomenal book. Among the many things that have been claimed for and against this man was, first of all, that he's not the one who even wrote the book. Actually, then maybe he wrote this one because it doesn't have the same quality of Dreams of My Father, which is the first one that he put out there during the time that he was running or getting ready to run, which is a phenomenal book. And this comments that he has a gay past, or there's a lot of people that are. Well, that's that. I want to dive into that for a second, just because, just like everything else, there are pros and cons. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so we see how this is going to play out. But in addition to that, guess what? Masking is going to become fashionable again. You know what I mean? COVID-19 is showing up in different places, and apparently there's a lot of people, and there is a few elementary schools that already reinstated the use of masks. There's already recommendations. Apparently, even President Biden is using his masking inside of the White House, even when he's by himself. We saw Whoopi Goldberg, by herself, because she contracted COVID, but she was by herself and
just marinated on her own COVID.
She showed up in camera, she had her mask on, you know what I mean? So by herself.
What an amazing citizen.
So whatever the case may be. Now, and when it comes to a little bit about the economy, though, Walmart is going to make some changes on the amount of money that they pay new people, new hires. And I want to address this because it's actually also connected to some of the conversation about COVID, and we'll take it from there. But great seeing you. I'm sure you've been watching the news. A couple of things about this situation with immigration, right? The Biden administration is considering, a plan that will force migrants to remain in Texas. Mm-hmm. Right. This is being done for a couple of reasons. Obviously, you can see what's going on when they start moving people around throughout the country.
Right.
It's very obvious that our system is not ready to handle an influx. By the way, it's not ready to handle the public phase of the influx, meaning we kind of created this monster by facilitating either hotels or places where people can specifically be sent to, because there is thousands of people that will cross the border, that will go to New York, will go to Jersey, will go to any of the places that right now will go to Chicago, will go to any of the places that today are struggling with it. The difference is either they have a friend, family member to go to, or they will just find a way to figure things out. I got to sleep in a basement, I got to sleep outside, I got to get a little job right away, opposed to going to a place that makes it very clear that the system is overwhelmed, because in reality, this is something that's supposed to operate underground. Actually, most of it operates underground. The moment that you try to get it underground, to put it for the system to handle it, you can see how we are not ready to make that happen. Chicago is about to move about 1,600 people from shelters to the actual airport. They're going to use the airport to be as a facility to be housing people. So the Chicago mayor is saying, hey, we're going to have no choice but to go in that direction. And there is a video that is going viral, right, about the mayor of New York City, Eric Adams, literally saying that migrants will destroy New York City. I want to know how that's not a racist statement. I want to know why nobody's jumping into that. I want to know what would have happened if it would have been a Rudy Giuliani who was mayor of New York making a statement like that, and how that would have been welcome. I want to know how is it that we can accuse a former President Trump of making statements like that, but when somebody who is the current mayor of New York, who actually has something to do with policies, who during the time that he started and was looking at the process, was saying that it was the humane thing to do. We
let people in.
Yeah, exactly. So what's your take on some of these things? What are your, again, from the pros and the cons, you know what I mean, things that you see as a good thing that's going on, if there is any, or any of the concerns that you have just looking at this whole scenario?
So looking at this, the first thing that jumps at me is the hypocrisy, right? When somebody says the mayor of Chicago saying we're overwhelmed with 1,600 migrants, and you're looking at cities in Texas where that's something that basically happens on a daily basis.
Correct.
I have a really hard time with that, and I understand that those cities are not prepped to do that or whatever it is, but then. What are you doing? What have you done to make sure that there are laws implemented at the actual border? Because the problem is that they're at the border and they're being shipped everywhere, or they're finding family members. I have a lot of people that we have communities and clusters of families that they're like, hey, I have somebody in whatever that city is, and so that's where they end up being. However, when I moved to the United States, I wasn't in. I did sleep at the airport one day, but it was because my flight was super delayed, so we were just kind of stuck at the airport. But it wasn't a shelter; it was kind of like just like anybody when your flight is delayed, you end up spending the night there waiting for the bus, because we had paid for somebody to come pick us up. Yeah. But when I showed up, yes, it was an apartment and there was like 15 people in it. But it was an apartment, and we were responsible financially to make sure that we got a job, we contributed, and stuff like that. So it's very different. It pisses me off, for lack of a better word, of the fact that cities are overwhelmed, or the statement of Eric Adams, which migrants will destroy the city, which New York has basically been built, by immigrants.
Correct.
Yeah, multiple times.
Once in a while, we get a comment from some people that, because obviously by now they see that we do carry this conversation about immigration a lot. And you had people that don't know anything about the topic, suggesting that we are gaslighting about the whole issue or the way we approach in the conversation. Here's what most people actually don't know. One of the reasons why I make it my business to make sure that we have a conversation about what's going on with this particular situation is because that's how I came into the country. You probably read it in a book. You probably watched the news. Somebody told you about it. I'm actually one of the guys who actually crossed the border. I was 18 years old. I didn't know anybody. I didn't speak the language. The only thing that I knew was that some people came into this country, and if they work hard enough, they were able to help their families, right? They were able to help their families. I didn't know anything about the American dream. I didn't know anything that was positive about the many benefits that people can actually experience. And I don't mean free benefits. I'm talking about all the possibilities that are granted and available in this country, just because as a country, we have so many things to offer that most people will even take for granted, right?
I tell you that is the word for me that you just said is possibilities.
Correct.
And opportunities, which is it's not given.
Correct.
It is something that you get to seek and pursue. And it's a pursuit of happiness.
And I'm saying it precisely because of that. Like, I want to make sure that, first of all, the last thing that somebody who is very young is thinking about is, I'm going to go out there to break the law. So for anybody who's extreme right, this is not a Republican issue. This is not a Democrat issue. This is an American issue. This is something that we have to find a way to get involved to address for two reasons. It gets to be very dangerous. We don't know who's coming in through the border. Not everybody that is making it in is a good person. We know that for a fact. We also know for a fact, whether somebody likes it or not, there is a significant amount of drugs that come through the border, not just through different ports. That's a different issue. That's a different animal that's highlighting the levels of corruption that we already have internally in our system. Some of the issues that we have, when a vessel is able to come in through a port, or you have a container that is able to make it through the system packed with drugs, then there is a problem somewhere. So there's a breakdown in the system that was supposed to help. I'm not addressing those issues. There's a lot of people that will spend a lifetime talking about drugs and drugs coming through the system, different ports, different places. But I am addressing what's actually happening through the border, because in addition to good people who just want to do something for their families, right? Something happened within my family that caused me to say, I got to go somewhere else to see if I can find a place. I cannot fix it with what we got in front of us. And it appears that that's the place to go. But here's the one thing I want to make clear. When I left the country, what I was hoping for is for somebody to at least give me the opportunity to have a place to stay. Like I said, no family, no friends, right? So what happened with that? Somebody that used to work for my family, his brother was the superintendent of a building, and the guy literally said, if he makes it here, I can give him access to the basement. Right? If he makes, because that is the reality. You don't even know if somebody's going to make it through the journey. I give him access to the basement. He can sleep on the floor. I'll give him probably, there's an extra mattress somewhere. He can sleep there until so there was no expectation that if I make it through, there was going to be some kind of specific hotel that I can go to, or a refugee center that was already set up within one of the internal states, because it's not unusual for some of the things to be facilitated at the border, right? People, obviously, they can see that this today, for those people, is a humanitarian crisis, right? Is you see, mothers with children, you see very young kids, you see a lot of people that, again, their intention is not to offend anybody, to upset anybody, to do anything other than, man, how do I build a better future, right? But what people don't understand, especially this false mercy that is actually introduced under the idea that we have to be the ones, especially in cities like New York or Chicago, where you have to be the one providing the housing. What you don't understand is that you're actually killing that American dream and the pursuit portion of it, right? That it was my responsibility to figure things out. I came into the country knowing that I better find a way to learn how to do a job, to find a job, to find a way to earn what I eat, what I sleep. I was never thinking of what else can I get from the system. Who's going to be doing my laundry? Where is the laundry machine? Where is that? Listen, man, like in a couple of occasions, and you being part of some of the conversations that I have about my own personal story, it is precisely the struggles that kind of gave me not only the clarity about things that I needed to do, but also every step of the way gave me the opportunity to appreciate every new accomplishment.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's not, instead of having this sense of expectation of entitlement, which you literally see right now. There are people being interviewed saying, no, I'm not getting out of here unless I get a work permit. That wasn't my concern. My concern was I'm going to get deported if I'm not careful, if I do something stupid. You have people breaking the law right now whose position is somebody better get me a work permit like right now before I do. I'm not going anywhere before.
Right.
How about they put you in a plane and send you right back to where you came from and see how would you actually like that? Because we are making a significant mistake by assuming that this false mercy is going to somewhere, somehow help somebody become a better citizen in this whole facility. And so now,
it's definitely a whole set of bad expectations, on both ends, right? Because then the expectation is the city has to continue providing accommodations, And then the actual person that is receiving the accommodations are saying, well, this was fairly easy. What other thing can I actually get? Or I don't have to, I'm not uncomfortable enough in order for me to move out or do something else to change my position. And the will to fight, man, is one of those things that, man, I remember, I'm like, I couldn't wait until I said, my father came the year after I actually moved to the United States. And I remember, I'm like, I was counting my dollars. We were fighting it out. I'm like in between school and multiple jobs, by the way, just so that we were able to say, man, we can finally afford our own place so that we can bring our family here, But we knew that every penny, every move, every vehicle that we drove, everything that we were doing was for a specific purpose. And that is lost whenever you're just like, hey, come on in, here's a hotel, I
came into the country and I had a full-time job, a part-time job, and whenever I had a minute available job.
Do you need me?
Like somebody called me, hey, listen, we gotta go get rid of some sofas, we'll give you a couple of that, let's go. Hey, we gotta go salt some of the sidewalks and one of the others, and we're gonna give you an extra few dollars. Let's make it happen. Hey, do you want to get free lunch so that we can actually we were working for every penny, and it was that idea that you have to earn it. And in many ways, it went back also to the argument that if you made an effort to actually earn what you ate, if you earn where you were staying, if you earn every penny that you were getting as an individual, as a person, you're gonna feel better about yourself. And I absolutely did. Every time, we went back to that basement, right? And I finally was able to clean up myself to go to bed. I was sleeping like a baby.
Right.
You know what I mean? And again, with an incredible sense of gratitude, which I don't see right now. Now, this whole video though that went viral with the mayor of New York City talking about destroying New York City. That's very dramatic, okay? So now you have somebody who, as a politician, they operate on nothing more and nothing less than drama, right? So before it was, we have to be humane. We are a sanctuary city. This is the same person that was arguing for the fact that, we have no problems. Yeah, you want to play games. Again, every step of the way, they were blaming the governors along the border states, right? To say you want to play games. No, we are a sanctuary city. We are humane people. We're going to do everything that we can to accommodate these people. It only took 9 months for them to start saying, please stop. They're going to destroy our city. No, you are destroying the city. And most of the politicians that are involved are taking New York backwards. We literally at this point, listen, whether you like Giuliani or not, if anybody was familiar with the work that he was able to do with the city. I mean, I'm talking about cleaning it up. I'm talking about making it business friendly. I'm talking about making it safe. I'm talking about, law and order. I'm talking about being profitable. I'm talking about real estate consistently going through the roof. I'm talking about people making a lot of money.
You just mentioned that for the first time, New York City actually lost. Real estate is running value.
Yeah, it's running the risk of not only this already losing value in certain areas, it's running the risk of losing a significant amount of value, something that we never seen before, especially out of the state. I mean, just to give you an example, my father-in-law sold a brownstone for about $75,000 or $85,000. That was like over 30 years ago, right? In the state of Florida, you see a market that constantly goes up and down. Like you're never gonna see something that goes from $70,000 to like $3 million or something like that, right? It'll go $70,000 to $150,000, maybe $500,000, and then it will go back down to $200,000. Again, the high highs and the low lows of the market, right? But anyway, about 10 years ago, right? 10 years ago, we literally go by where the property was. Right? And there's a guy moving into the property. You know what I mean? This Dominican family purchased it. They moving into the facility. Yeah. And I go in, and we decided to stop, have a conversation, and of course I couldn't help it. You know what I mean? Remember, he sold it for about $75,000. By the way, this is 30 years later. Right? And I asked the guy, listen, I can't help it, but how much did you get it for? He paid $3.8 million for the property.
Oh my God.
Do you understand? I mean, that's when you're talking about retirement money, right? You're talking about.
Where is it at now? Do you know? If you had to guess.
So I'm going to assume that in the additional 10 years, if the property kept accruing value, so have to be somewhere between 4 to 4.3, maybe even
So that was the
4.5.
highest.
That would be the highest. So at this point, that property, given location, given that was a trouble location, they got that's
Cleaned up.
part of the group.
Giuliani.
Exactly. They got. Then now is again going back to becoming a trouble location. Lorena, there were places in New York where, like, literally, you went into those areas at your own risk. Like if somebody pulled you over, there was a possibility of something really bad was going to happen, right?
Got it.
You know, and it's hard to explain to people that the area was so bad sometimes that the whole little building, 3, 4, 5 apartments sometimes, was worth $28,000, $30,000.
Well,
you know what I mean? And of course, those things later on became $3, $4, $5 million, right? So that usually only happens in places like New York, and to have that much equity to be built with consistency through so many years, to actually see that for the first time at risk, meaning an area that why do you think that they say, well, you know, New York is owned by the Japanese and the Chinese, and well, why do you think they keep making investment into our real estate? Because again, property rights, so there's so many things that people that come from other places or they see in other places, they come from that, again, that American dream, that possibility, the value what we have for, you know what I mean, just to be able to see. But these politicians, they like to play, because that's my whole point with this conversation, right? I want to call out this mayor, right? Because at the end of the day, he still, once he realized that his message got picked up, but like by everybody, right? And they replaying that statement, which makes it very clear. What he was highlighting is 100% correct. Maybe a little too dramatic, you know what I mean? But 100% correct when he's telling everybody, hey, listen, this is a significant problem for our city. But then immediately goes back
but it's a significant problem for the country.
For the country.
I don't understand what.
But it's worse than that. It goes back, and now he wants to blame again the governor of Texas. But just so that you know, if you're talking about the amount of people that has been bused from Texas to the state of New York, somewhere around 13,000 people. The problem that they're describing right now is about 110,000 people. Okay? So that is somewhere around 10% as a problem that was created. Everybody else found a way to get, not only are they, so guys, what I want to highlight is what we are signaling to other people. This is people that found a way to get there through their own resources and knew exactly where to go, because that's where everybody was going. Do you understand how difficult that is?
The word gets out. I have a somebody in my, I don't even know if it's family, because you know when you move to the States, everybody becomes your cousin. You know what I mean? But it's that we were talking about, I remember with my uncle, which is for real my uncle, just so you know. We were talking about this specific person in our family. It's one of those like 15th cousin type of deal. And, you know, usually as a family, we try to, hey, let me provide you with some guidance. This is what happened. Like, just exactly like the way it's like, here's the space, but here's where you get your driver's license, here's where you get this, here's where you get that. So we were my mother was talking to my uncle, and he said, you don't have to worry about him. He is in a hotel in Manhattan overseeing the whole other thing, and he's like, he's gonna be fine for a little while. By the way, he's even distant from my uncle, no? But the whole point about this is that the expectation for that young guy that came in is way different than the expectation that we have for ourselves. And he went to New York, which is exactly what you were saying, which is he went to New York because he found his way there, because he knew that that was the best place where they were going to give him all of the accommodations that he's getting right there and then. So there's no, like, of course, if you know that that's going to be the easier way out, you're going to obviously find a way to get there.
But there's two issues that we're dealing with. On one hand, we're dealing with the fact that
New York was recruiting.
That level of signaling, what these politicians don't understand is that when you do something like that, that literally is immediately something that becomes an attractive reason. Like if I ever had a reason to say, I'm going to go to the country now, nobody's stopping me at the border. They bussing me around, right? So let me, instead of hiding and running away, let me just tell people, hey, take me in, right? Hand me in. move me to New York, give me housing, give me a place. So, what I'm saying is by doing things like this, instead of slowing down the process, we're just going to get more people
Right.
to look into maybe this is the time to go. The second big issue, to me is the bigger issue though, is the fact that you're going to cripple somebody's spirit and you're going to cripple their, what was supposed to be a natural process. Like most people that came to this country, even if they came like that, right? Like it was my case also. My number one question was, how do I earn money? Not how do I get somebody to give me money, right? How do I earn it? What do I need to do in order to, again, to position myself so that I don't become a problem to anybody, but so that I can eat, I can have housing, I can
How
have...
many days went by when you moved to the States and you started working?
Immediately,
Right.
I showed up to the building, and immediately I
Here's
told
the
I told the person, listen, I appreciate you allowing me to stay here. How can I help you? No, don't worry about it. Let me show you everything that you're gonna need to do. And I was relieved.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I really felt great about the fact that, okay, I'm not going to be a burden. I'm actually gonna earn it. So yes, I mopped floors. I took garbage out. I'm talking about 200 bags of garbage out of a single building. Salted the sidewalk during winter. You know what I mean? It was winter when I came in. So I cleaning the place, painted apartments, got involved into helping people, build like the ceiling. I hope nobody's ceiling came down on, because I know absolutely
God.
nothing about it, but I just wanted to. I was working inside of the building. I was working anything that was showing up, but it was like the very next day, I was already doing something that was allowing me to earn my stay. So, but the point to that though is that I felt not only that was part of the process, I felt that was the expectation. I felt that
Right.
was actually needed. And I felt that was part of the rite of passage. You know what I mean? You got to go through certain things. Like you have a conversation when anybody came into the country, most people will tell you their construction story, right?
Yeah.
Their painting apartment story, their housekeeping story. That like there's something
Fast
about
food.
that, especially if you came by yourself. You know what I mean? Or you came with a very limited amount of people, opposed to what they're doing right now. This is extremely dangerous. Is definitely setting the wrong precedent, and I hope we find a way to adjust this. And for politicians,
It's
that now
killing the audacity of hope.
it's opposed to trying to again play this blame game.
Yeah.
But truly, this is a moment where the country needs to find a way. Unfortunately, though, as we getting closer to an election, this is going to be one of those topics. It's such an easy topic to play with, right? It's emotional. There's real people involved. There's real losses involved. You're talking about moving resources that are absolutely needed. The state of New York can't even handle their own budget right now. They're already in a $9 billion deficiency, a $6 to $9 billion deficiency. And now you're adding this, and everybody's now saying, wait a minute, what about me? Do I need to just like lose my papers and pretend that I just got here and change my name and call myself Carlos? What do I do so that I can get more help and more support? So definitely a very scary situation. I'm inviting everybody though. Like the reason why I do want to continue to have this conversation about this issue is because what we want is for more people to get involved in the conversation. But don't get defensive. Because unless you were swimming next to me when I was crossing the border, don't get too touchy-feely with this whole situation, right? Like you read something in a book, you watched a movie about immigration, and you have a reaction about a guy with an accent talking about immigration. It's just that I want to respect the rule of law on one end, and at the same time, I want to make sure that we can come up with a real solution because you had people dying at the border. This is not a romantic conversation about something that sounds emotional or something that comes out of a movie. This is real life. This is something where people are dying on a daily basis. So I'm inviting you to be part of the conversation and see if we can do something about it.
What is your thought? Because I'm looking here and it says Northern Border sees immigrant surge from dozens of countries,
Correct.
more than the last 10 years combined. So
Correct.
now we're not just dealing with,
It's not just Mexico.
now is Canada.
It's not just Central America, which
Right.
is like these are the two. By the way, they still are the two dominant areas, right?
Right.
Because of the proximity to the country.
Right.
And you probably wouldn't be surprised if I go as far as Brazil or Argentina, right? Again, everybody's got to go through that process. People are not that surprised, even if I'm having a conversation about Haiti, because again, we're still within the American continent, right? This is part of the Caribbeans, and they will go inland through more friendly countries, and they still make the same journey. But now you're talking about people coming in from Saudi Arabia, people coming in from Asian countries. I'm talking about China. I'm talking about South Korea. I'm talking about different places where you normally would a lot of Baltic countries that you normally you don't see a lot of people coming in from Poland. You normally don't see a lot of people when even in Ukraine right now. Obviously, in addition to the fact that what's going on with the war, right? They like saying, okay, if it's easy to get up there, let's just find a way to get out of here and find a way. So you have right now an incredible amount of other countries that we never seen the type of migration increase that we're seeing right now. By the way, is every year as you're getting closer to the holidays, because the idea is I'm gonna head out right now, and you want to get closer to autumn. You want to be in that area where it's cool enough a little bit. It's not that hot. That's just because you gotta, in some cases, cross areas that gets extremely hot.
So what you're saying is that even right now,
this number is gonna get bigger. This number is going to get bigger. As we get closer to November, as we get closer to December, this number is going to get a lot bigger. Great. So if we can just stop playing games with it, hopefully we can do better. But with that being said, listen, I appreciate I know that you understand this perspective also based on, personal experience, family experience, and people that we know and that we are dealing with. But I'm inviting everybody also to just become part of the conversation and don't let it be again, Republican issue, Democrat issue, because then you find yourself fighting for who is more right or who was more wrong, which makes absolutely no sense. You know what I mean? At this point, we got to come up with some practical solutions, and we got to see this as an American issue, right? And also as people, you know what I mean? That for, again, the American people are very generous at heart. You know what I mean? We just want to see things being handled different. So how do we fix it? How do we make it a little better? We need more practical solutions than the ones we have in front of us right now. So, but with that being said, let's move into something that might be a little more fun. I don't know. So Bill Gates and the Bill Gates Foundation put a significant amount of money. I think it's somewhere around $97 million that they put into the Budweiser stock. And so here are a couple of things to bring into that, right? Obviously, they play in a long-term game, right? They absolutely believe that this is when the stock is down, it's not going to go away, obviously. This is the right time to buy it. Makes sense from an investment perspective. You want to buy low, you want to sell high. And he knows that it's not only taking a beating now, it's going to take a little more of a beating. And just by him, right now he's got such a terrible reputation with everybody, so much like bad faith that he has managed to acquire from so many people that at this point,
what do you
people are saying it's going to make it even worse.
What do you think the angle is? Like, why in the world? Like, is it an investment or if he's trying to make a move on something else? Because with this guy, with Bill Gates, for me, everything that he does comes from a different angle. All of the land that he's buying, all of the vaccines that he keeps on friggin' putting in place.
Well, I mean, listen, Budweiser, it is, it's an American name, you know what I mean? It's as American as it gets, you know what I mean? And so if you can control some of these things, if you're really going to have something to do with food production and then also with the beverage industry, in addition to the pharmaceutical, in addition to technology, in addition to, this is a guy but again, here's what he's banking on though. He's banking on something that unfortunately, it is a reality. I was having this conversation with somebody earlier, and I kind of asked me the same question. I'm like, so what do you think? Is this guy not concerned that the actual stock can literally collapse? And I said, no. I said, this guy. Here's what this guy is banking on. This guy is banking on the fact that how long did it take for Americans to forget about Pearl Harbor? You know how many young people right now don't even know where it is or where it happened? How long do you think that it took for people to forget about 9/11?
Even 9/11, yeah.
Right. Like it's not even an issue. People don't even think about that as something that was a significant issue. New Yorkers don't even think about that as a big issue. COVID, how many people, like in a matter of a second, went in and out and then just said, whatever
Forgot
it is.
they're ready to wear their mask again.
Except for the fact that right now they're going to make it an issue. But so my point is, this guy is banking on the fact that whatever went wrong with that marketing-wise, people are going to forget. And eventually, gradually, so who knows, might be a good thing too. I'm not making any recommendations for anybody to go buy anything. But definitely something to pay attention to. But man, talking about highlighting about a guy that people truly at this point saying, man, we just don't like you.
Patrick will say, choose your enemies wisely.
Yeah, no, but this guy is like...
It's like, what, you made an enemy? The whole country.
I don't know if in your family you have like that one cousin that when he will like show up to house, everybody like, oh, here's this guy, right? That nobody wanted a part of it. This is what this man walks into places and people actually want to walk out. Like very few people, and it's got to be painful because I'm sure there's got to be something good about this man. I just don't know it at this point.
Where?
You know what I mean? Listen, he's got a family. He's got to be.
The one good thing about that dude, I think it was Melinda Gates. And
I'm a guy that still wants to think that listen, there's a difference between bad people and people that make mistakes. You know what I mean? I don't know if this guy already amounted to full villain bad people, but he's definitely walking in that direction. You know what I mean? And by the way, forget about he's walking in that direction. The perception that people have is that he's definitely in that direction. So who knows? Hopefully Bud Light and Budweiser will recover. Again, those are American companies that have done a lot for the country, very well known nationally, internationally. You just want to see things to stabilize, because at the end of the day, Lorena, when the whole thing went down and you have that many losses, right? You're talking about basically $500 million in losses for a single company. What people forget is that a lot of people got laid off. A lot of people, were literally fired, you know what I mean? Because somebody made a marketing mistake. And they were interviewing some students from New York, and one of them was a marketing major, right? And they said, yeah, I'm looking forward to come out, and I want to do something like what Budweiser did with this lady, Mulvaney was the actual name of the person, the individual, because that was something innovative, it was new. And then the person interviewing said, the company lost almost $500 million. You would still do it. It's like, yeah, that didn't go too well. But things like that. And I'm like, wait a minute.
Oh my God.
So that tells you the
level of the schooling system.
Yeah, from one end of school system to the other side is that.
Shoot.
So this man is truly, truly banking on that. You know what I mean? And then so it's up to us to see how do we play it. But at least it's important to highlight it. Now, what's up with this whole thing about my very good friend, Barack Obama? All these many claims. Okay. By the way, guys, I read books from Barack Obama. I read books from George W. Bush. George W. had a lot more pictures. No, let me stop. I read books from Donald Trump. I read books from... Listen, if I agree with you, I'm very clear as to why I agree with you.
Becoming Michelle?
If I disagree with you, I'm going to not just do what most people do. It's like, oh, I don't like you, I don't agree with you. I'm going to dive into what your position happens to be. Obviously, there's many things that I'm respectful about, but there's some others that I fundamentally disagree. I do want to talk about when this man was essentially running for president. And this whole idea that officially we were going to have the first black president. I don't care what anybody says. You shouldn't really create these tribal divisions and don't group people and don't, this race ethnic based on. The fact of the matter, there was something truly emotional about that. Like there was something romantic about the idea that was about to happen, even though everybody kept saying that Bill Clinton was truly the first black president we ever had, right? And that was a joke, by the way. But there was something, I remember a statement. I remember people having an emotional reaction to a statement they absolutely copied from somebody else, but he made it sound better, which is, we are the ones we've been waiting for. And I was like, wow, that's such a powerful, you can see that people just like crying and reacting to it like, yes, we can, we're gonna. And everybody went crazy. But I'm not going to lie to you. I did have some level of hope that the immigration was going to be handled and fixed and dealt with. I did have
What did you do for
more hope.
immigration?
Nothing.
Okay.
Nothing. He actually deported more people than Bush. Many people don't even know that. But
He was in charge of, he created the whole cages thing.
nothing. He was. Somebody was saying, "Oh, but you don't understand. You know this policy from Donald Trump separating the children." That policy was instituted by the Obama-Biden administration. Most people you're too lazy. You don't want to do the homework to try to understand who did what. But wait, this is not a Trump, friendly environment. This is a pro-America, pro-capitalism, pro-self-reliance type of environment. Like, I don't want anything that that's going to come across like I'm going to favor more than the other. The other thing that was actually squandered was the opportunity to actually bring the country together. Like, talking about, a moment to heal a significant dividing issue or topic, which is, it's undeniable that slavery will forever be a black eye for the country. The same way that it has been for European countries, the same way that it was for England itself. But the fact of the matter is, a lot has been done to make sure that we can find a place where we can reconcile and hopefully one day even forgive, some of the mistakes of the country, right? Only God knows where the whole thing is going to go. There are people that will tell you that they love and admire. The fact of the matter is there are many things. This was a president that was presidential.
What do you mean by that?
If nothing else, this was a guy that really looked the part. Sounded the part. Like, there were very few people. When Bill Clinton was the president, everybody was saying, man, nobody has the ability to communicate like this man, until Barack Obama came up and they said, okay, so here's somebody that can take Bill Clinton to school, right? Its ability to make a point, gets elected twice, overwhelming support from every community, including the white community. But there was a lot of things that never quite became a central discussion. So I don't know what to make of those interviews about this one man that said, we smoked crack, we had a sexual experience, sexual encounter, and probably worse than that, Joan Rivers. I don't know how to take a comedian that in a single moment that it appears to be where she's actually making a real statement, turns around and when she's asked the question, when do you think the United States is going to be ready for a first gay president? She's like, what do you mean? We already have one, Barack Obama. And so this thing is actually picking up some steam, right?
By the way, that's been around for a really, really, really long time.
But there was a comment here and there, though. It was different when you have like just about every news channel and social media, which right now is like, like talking about lighting something up, and it will you set it on fire for days and days to go. I don't know where it's going to go. I don't know. A friend of mine was playing the percentage of truth, right? If you have to assign a percentage of truth to this, potentially suggesting that Barack Obama is either bisexual or gay, what percentage will you give it?
Probably, I don't know, like 40%?
40%?
Yeah.
That's actually pretty high. That's as close to like flipping a coin one way.
Look, here's the way that I look at it. Being part of the gay community and walking into a gay bar and you're like, I thought you were straight.
Is there such a thing as a gay radar though? Like you walk into a place and you're like,
there is. By the way, there's like a, what is it? They used to be called like 100-foot lesbian. Like, it's like, I'm 100-foot lesbian, right? You look at me and it's like, maybe a boy or that's a lesbian. Got it. So that's one of those things. But for me there's a lot of guys, and I'm not saying every guy, but there's a lot of guys that will go and have their own experience, gay experience, maybe once, and maybe twice, and maybe so that doesn't surprise me. I don't see what the big deal about that is. The second thing is the drugs. Who doesn't? You're a freaking.
Hey, is there anything that you want to tell us?
Yes, I mean, no.
Do we need to do intervention here?
No. It's been a long time, right? But the whole process of this, as far as the drugs, it's like, whatever. Isn't it like a culture in Wall Street and Washington, D.C.? Because that's what they show in all of the shows. Yeah, I don't know if you understand. So it's like, that doesn't surprise me either. What I don't understand is why is this such a big deal, right? Number one, right now, dude's not running for anything.
Correct.
Number two, why is the the Democratic community, right, the liberal community saying, hey, they're like kind of like, no, he's not the first gay guy running. So they're very much defending the process, and they're very being anti-gay instead of embracing the process. When last time we talked about it a little bit, I'm like, yo, if it were in fact that Barack was the first gay president, freaking rainbow flags all over the place should be celebrating the guy, but that's not the case. That's not what you're seeing right now.
So let's see it from a pros and cons type of scenario, right? The pro side of it is, like you're saying, you know what I mean? Everybody at this point,
he did not come into the White House as a pro-gay rights advocate at all.
Correct. And even though through executive order, he did sign a few things during the time that he was running, talking about the argument of redefining marriage and stuff like that. They were not necessarily
to marry Nori.
Correct. But at the same time, they were saying they were not supporting, and Joe Biden is even on record saying that we're not supporting anything that's going to redefine marriages between a man and a woman. And then, but we do know for a fact that he did sign executive orders that allowed for that to happen. Like you're saying, that was one of the reasons that gave you the opportunity for you to marry your wife, right? In addition to that, though, but again, going to pros, well, even though it was a different time, you know what I mean, is you're talking about, it was already part of the conversation. To actually reaffirm and say, hey, listen, this is really what it was, or what it is. Or maybe, again, the things that I couldn't speak about openly for many reasons, but yes, this is who I am. This is the person. I think that what is surprisingly about the whole issue is the amount of people within the Democrat Party that are actually coming out to try to defend that, again, as if it's something that is meaning. If the issue is with him being gay, then there is a problem where everybody's positioned. Because if the issue is, well, he was not honest enough about the whole process, that's a different scenario. But for the guy to be able to, do you understand what I'm saying? Especially from the Democrat side, because it's a little bit hypocritical to be able to say, now, let's go to the negative side of this conversation. Well, again, potentially being dishonest about it. He has every reason to be protective about what he knows is an opinion that is not necessarily a favorable opinion, especially around those days, right? Today, I don't know where we are.
But we're talking about today. That's my thing. It's like, I don't understand why it becomes an issue today.
Because again, listen, we're going to go into election time. Do you want, as the Clintons' influence is also fading away a little bit, do you want the Obamas to be the ones that will carry the mantle, or is it a good idea to taint that a little bit? Let's reduce their capability to be influential by creating, like you said, he's not running for anything. That doesn't mean that he doesn't have a lot of influence and a lot of power.
Right.
You know what I mean? When it comes to politics and everything else. So do you want this guy to be campaigning and because he's gonna? And do you want to create an environment where every time he makes a stop somewhere, somebody's going to be asking him, so, Mr. President, are you or you're not gay? Oh, what do you say? Like that alone, I promise you, there's a few politicians that I'm saying, okay, I can't have Barack Obama campaigning for me. Is that the ultimate game? Is that a possibility?
So here's the thing, though. Like, here's where my question is. Isn't he campaigning? If he's campaigning, he's going to be campaigning for somebody that is in the Democratic Party.
Correct.
Right? The Democratic Party, what percent, let's talk about percentages. What percentage of the Democratic Party is actually pro-gay rights, pro-LGBTQIF, WTF, all of them things?
Even with Democrats, I think that even with Democrats, You have these three real scenarios right now, and I know that unfortunately you guys are not able to see it.
Take a picture
You
and
have
put it on there.
complete left, where they will be waiting for him with a rainbow, and everybody will be wearing pink. Happy to know that he's gonna, like, seriously, like, there are some people that are, it's not a question of having an issue. Listen, we cannot wait to welcome you into, we're really happy that you finally decided to speak out. We know how it is. By the way, if in fact this man lived a life that was a lie his whole life, that's a painful thing to do. But again,
I've been in the closet. It is a terrible place to be.
But he probably, here's one of the things that people may not even understand what I'm about to say, though. I actually do respect the fact that even if he wanted to have a different life, knowing that he was somewhere somehow called to or felt responsible to do a certain job, he was willing to move that aside to say, you know what, this is the only way that I can be this person and do that for the benefit of the country, and I can do that for the next 8 years, and this is going to be a greater legacy than any other legacy, whatever. So I absolutely respect that. You know what I mean? So somebody that is willing to say, about and beyond my own happiness, I'm going to do the right thing, right? That's something to respect. But this is one community. Then you have the center, right? The center, and then you have areas where actually center right. You have some Democrats right now that just based on certain areas. Listen, if you're talking about Virginia, if you're talking about the state of Florida, here we are in the state of Florida. Orlando can be all gay friendly as we want it to be. Go to Jacksonville, go to Tallahassee, go. There's certain areas where people know that the last thing that you want is for a reporter, opposed to saying, so Mr. President, what do you think is going to be the best thing about the policies that are going to be introduced by, you name the candidate? That's not going to be the question. The question is, are you really gay? And do you want to be in every single one of the campaigns to be distracted by that? Because that becomes a disaster, right? Just because, again, it's like, listen, controlling the narrative.
So here's all I'm saying. All I'm saying is right now, at the current state, and this is me. I'm a registered Democrat.
We know.
Okay, I understand. But I want you to know that for me, I haven't changed. My positions haven't changed. It's just the party left me. It went so far over to the left that it does no longer align with my values and principles. There's a bunch of things on the right that I don't necessarily agree with either, but I am definitely not okay with whatever's happening on the left. So for all intents and purposes, and we'll put a picture of this in there, I'm here. I was here. All I'm saying is this side is leaning more towards the other side. So whatever center right used to be is right now full on Republican. I promise you.
But there is no, not really though. You still have, because if you happen to be a politician, like if I'm happen to be running.
No, I understand.
If I happen to be running in Oregon or Washington, I'm the guy who wants to run for mayor in Seattle, right? To be extreme right, it's not going to help me.
So you're talking about the politician.
Yes, I'm talking about
talking about the people voting.
Well, that's a different factor, right? Because now the second question connected.
This is it's all about rallying people,
Let's start with a politician. As a politician, do I want the topic of the conversation?
Yes,
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
do I want the topic of the conversation to be, Mr. President, are you gay? I don't know that I want that. If I want you to campaign for me, then I want to be always connected to that question over and over again, and you know they're going to use it. No different than Trump. Mr. President, are you a racist? Mr. President, what do you know about the KKK? Were you a member? Listen, that unfortunately, that's how we operate. You have a lot of people that know how to play that game. Now, let's talk about the people,
media.
Right? So forget about the media. I'm not even going to go into the media because that's a different game altogether. I'm actually talking about the average American, right? Who right now, through the course of the last 30 years, you can literally say became a lot more accepting, right? Maybe not. Maybe I have the wrong perception. But also at the same time, in the last 2-3 years, some of the things just get out of control with the whole transgender conversation, sexualizing the children, sex books on certain public schools,
on the LGBT.
and all the other stuff that people at this point don't understand, and they keep blaming the lesbian and gay community, transsexual, queer community, to say that, and by the way, everything else is everything. But my point to you you have people right now that at some point are saying, maybe I was a little too understanding. Maybe I was just trying to be a good, friendly person to avoid making somebody else. I don't know where we are right now, to be quite honest with you. I don't know what the temperature of the country. I do see some people that I never expected to have a position that in some cases it's not even 100% accurate. I'm not talking about small players. We know a couple of people that are putting videos out there about this conversation, and they doing it in a way that I watched the video. That, remember, I'm not going to talk about who it is or what it is, right? We spoke about this video. And I watched the video just to see if the problem was with like I told you. I think that the issue is the way the tie exactly, right? Yeah, but that's dangerous.
Oh yeah, of course.
That's dangerous because when you're playing at that level and you're allowing somebody, because you got to see that you saw the title, and you're allowing somebody to put it like that.
By the way, it infuriated me.
But that's my point, right? But it's worse than that. Now you're actually going to encourage a low-level communicator to actually put something that would be even more extravagant or even worse, to not only has a title, but now the content of the video is going to be just as stupid as the title.
Right.
This was a title issue, now a video issue.
Right.
So what kind of emotions are brewing right now throughout the country, one and against the other? This man, at some point, especially with his ability to connect with people. Forget about his ability to communicate.
So you're saying it's super relevant that this is popping up right
I
now.
think this is not something that they can continue to ignore. It's not healthy for him. It's not healthy for his family. It's not healthy for the country. This man has got to come out. The one thing that this man had was the ability to connect with people. Right? That was another Bill Clinton attribute, right? It's like, I feel your pain. Every time this man said that, people started crying. Every time this man showed up somewhere, he's just a feel good, I'm connected. He's got to come out and say, okay, everybody relax. We need to move on from this conversation, because otherwise, it's not going to go away. And as we get closer to election, and he's going to be a guy that they are going to need all over the country, he cannot allow this distraction to be part of the conversation. Listen, I'm very much okay with not re-electing Joe Biden again, just in case anybody was wondering what my position was. Either we have a new face coming in with better ideas, or I'll take a Republican at this point. But with that being said, man, the last thing that I wanted to tell you, there's actually two things that I want to cover. First of all, this whole mandating was ridiculous to hear our press secretary, the White House press secretary, talking about how our president right now is again wearing masks. Obviously, the first lady was reported to have contracted COVID, mild symptoms. Everybody says, okay, nothing to worry about. But here you have this man, again, inside of the White House wearing a mask. And it's just getting to a point that I hope they actually understand that the majority of the population, and I'm going to speak for myself in this one, that there is absolutely no way in hell that I want to be in a position where I'm going to welcome that whole wearing of the mask. The serious studies came across saying that it didn't do anything. It doesn't work. It doesn't help. And in some cases, it can potentially have a negative effect. Are you ready to start masking up again? Are you ready to see the children? Are you ready to? Is this a political game pre-election?
For me, it's precisely that. It's about the same time where stuff was brewing for COVID, whenever the whole campaign was going.
Is this a way to keep Joe Biden in the basement again?
Yes, like that. It's just it was a playbook. It worked very well. It's a great opportunity not only for the basement.
Yeah.
It's also for mail-in ballots. It's also for and more than anything else. In addition to that, forget about that. Is what is it doing to our children?
Correct.
You understand what happens when you have a child hiding their face behind a mask, and I have seen multiple people, young kids, and I also had a teenager that is, and he was saying the mask is who I am. We finally, I don't know if we ever got over that. At least we're in a place where we're not using the mask. It's not a requirement, and so they had to learn how to get rid of it.
Correct.
To a couple of months later, because it even hasn't been a year for some states, we're right back into the same place. So I don't like that. One, I think it's a political move. I think it's politically motivated for me. And two, it's just messing up with our children's will to like have their own identity and be. It's really freaking tough to be a teenager. You get pimples, you get a bunch of stuff, and then the mask is just an easy way for you to hide your true self, and it's for me it's a terrible thing.
But not only that, is that where do we go from there? Do we go from masking to you got to stay home again for another 2 years? And we know how harmful that was, especially for
mental
young
health
children, right?
Yeah.
A lot of issues that today we are experiencing. By the way, anything that academically, from math to history to you'll name it. We're showing the worst possible, worst possible results. But I do want to connect it to the economy right now because Walmart though. Is right now, they announced that they're going to be cutting the starting pay, meaning how much I am willing to offer you to hire you as a new hire.
So I used to pay you $30 an hour, now it's $25.
So here's one of the things that happened to many companies, unfortunately, right? Talking about another unintended consequence of what happens because of COVID, right? Labor force is functioning at a normal levels, we can say that.
Right now?
No, previous to COVID.
Oh, yeah.
No issues.
Right.
Employment is going very well. Everybody's working, everybody's happy, everybody's making money, at least in a way that nobody's complaining about. As a matter of fact, unemployment is very low. Income earners are consistently, just like these companies, are constantly raising, you know what I mean? Like every year they said, okay, you know what? We're going to start a new hire. If we used to do $17, I think it's time to do $17.50, $18, whatever the case. It's constantly going up. COVID comes in, everybody decides to stay home. Now you have companies begging for people to come back to work. So what did they do? I used to pay you $17. Lorena, come back.
Here's
I'm willing to give you
bonus.
20. I'll give you an extra bonus. I'm gonna raise your income. I'm gonna raise your. And so many people said one day this is gonna come back and hit everybody in their behind, because at some point the companies are gonna say, you know what, we don't need you that much anymore, and we already gave you more money than we were planning to give you. Not only that we're gonna take it back from you, let you go, right? Cut your hours, not give you a raise when you were probably entitled to. The new people that are coming in are also going to pay for what we have to do because we got abused by you. So now we got to return the favor to everybody else. And that's a very scary situation, because when you have a company like Walmart is, you know what I mean, is one, they hire so many people. This is a brick and mortar facility. There's so many people that it's an entry level job, even for very young people, you know what I mean? And even for elderly people that are saying, listen, you know what I mean, as I'm already at retirement age, I don't mind telling everybody, welcome to Walmart. I'll make some money to supplement my income. This is a clear reflection of where we are when it comes to the employment market, unemployment, how people still feel about what happened with COVID, and at the same time, it's hinting to where the economy is going as we get into the end of the year, though. You know what I mean? So, any final thoughts on this?
No, I mean, this is the whole classic of the messers become the messes. You know, it's the power was in the hands of the employee for a good period of time because there was a need. Right now, thanks to Biden, right? The unemployment rate is back to whatever, which just means the jobs just went right back. The pre-COVID jobs just came right back. They finally were able to fill them. And so it's at a place right now where, hey, we have a big pool to choose as the employer. And so now we have the opportunity to lower the things. And you're seeing a lot of, especially 2-3 months back, there was a lot of tech companies laying off.
Correct.
A lot of people. And so now it's no longer the news, but I'm sure it's happening. It's still happening. I don't know that it's as strong and as fast as it was back then, but it's definitely still happening, and it's just being able to say, let's go ahead and re-stabilize the labor force. And for us, our payroll, right? For the company, it's just saying, I was ready for my payroll. My payroll needs to stay in the same place for my budget. They just had to adjust it. At the beginning was, let's bring people at a higher rate. Now it's just, let me let go of a couple people, and I can bring them back at the other rate so I can have more people working with me.
100%. So it is one of those cases of supply and demand, you know what I mean? And But unfortunately for me, it also is hinting something about the economy and where the economy is going. But anyway, how about we recap this thing? What are your final messages here?
Look, so for me, one of the things is don't get distracted. Honestly, I do feel like the whole Barack Obama thing, it is a major distraction for things that we should be paying attention to. Like, I don't understand how I was watching something in one of the channels. I think it was either MSNBC or CNN, because I like to watch both sides for real. And these guys were saying, well, President Biden doesn't have the approval of this, and the economy and the other thing.
Correct.
And obviously you can tell that these guys have not been to a grocery store in so long.
Time.
You know, I was just, these little guys, the spinders, it's like these little guys, it's like they're $2 more right now at Costco, you know? So, and it was $2 up from like 2 months ago.
Correct.
So inflation is still a factor, but everybody's busy talking about Obama being gay, you know? Inflation is still a factor. Gas is still expensive. All of these different things are affecting your pocket. Everybody is playing the blame game in different things. So for you, don't get distracted. When it comes to your ability to make money, what you're saying is absolutely right. When it comes to Walmart being an indicator, whatever's happening with the Walmart hiring process, being an indicator of the economy, that just means for you, as the person that is watching us, what can you do to be a little bit more self-sufficient and self-reliant? So you don't have to rely on a Walmart or in another job that may or may not be there to support you. I hope that you're able to keep the job that you really love and that you appreciate, and you get the job of your dreams. But if you don't, find a way to be self-reliant. And even if you have it, find a way to be self-reliant. It's going to come back and pay you 10x. Either one, it's going to elevate your life to levels that you can only imagine. Or two, at some point, like it happened with me and my wife, we were able to sustain ourselves because we were able to become self-reliant. So that's my message for right now.
Keep the main thing, as they say, right? And a lot of people do get distracted and they forget, even the people that are supposed to be arguing for better solutions, you know, it's so easy to get distracted. And like I was saying before, once in a while I get a message from people that obviously, by not knowing my story, and why would you know my story? There's nothing special about me, you know what I mean? But people that are actually thinking that I'm carrying this immigration conversation.
That's an outsider.
And yeah, and in some cases people think that I'm against immigration, which is kind of ridiculous. But at the same time, I do want to remind everybody that I'm actually addressing this issue for the fact that it was not an easy experience for me. It was not an easy experience for anybody that crossed at the same time that I was crossing. I saw people going through some real difficult things. I saw people dying. I saw children abused. I saw women abused. I saw many different things that, as an 18 years old or even younger, you're not supposed to see. But unfortunately, that is life. It prepares you for certain things. But more than anything else, it kind of gave me the position that I'm taking right now, that I want to be a voice that is going to continue to be out there asking for real solutions, better solutions. Because what we are doing right now, we can all agree, is not working. We have an immigration system that is completely broken. That it wouldn't take much to fix it if we all decided to get together and make things happen in a different note. I'm going to get ready to put another sequence of videos and connect it to some of the choices. If privatizing is not even an option on the table for national security reasons, there's many other things that we can do to make sure that the people that happen to be in a position to be able to work and want to have the intention to do that, again, how can we actually create an environment that is actively recruiting and reaching out to people that we want in the country. There's one very positive component about these things. Europe, Japan, they're talking about Japan essentially running the risk of potentially disappearing as a group of people, which I don't think, again, some things are extremely dramatic, right? But they can truly be reduced from being 130 million people to get to the point where they end up with about 50 million people, right? For some of the people that are green movement, concerned about the level of population that we have, you're probably very happy to hear that. But at the same time, think about what it does to the economy. Think about it does to a retirement process. Think about what it does to the real estate that was already built to support 130 million people. So that's what Europe is going through right now, right? You can go to Europe right now, certain areas in Italy, you can buy a house for $1. Nobody lives there. You're going to be there by yourself. And I mean, not just the house, the whole town. There's nobody there. One of the unintended benefits of immigration into this country is that we're actually renewing. It's not the percentage of older people that come into the country is the smallest percentage compared to women, children, and men that happen to be at their
Most
highest productive time, right? They're going to have families, they're going to have, so in many ways, this is a group that's going to continue to help us not to find itself in a decline that most other countries are having right now. So things that we don't understand that can actually become a blessing if we just pay a little more attention. If we manage the whole thing better, we can get better results, and it could be a win-win situation with everybody. But with that being said, I'm always welcoming everybody's opinion, whether I agree with it or not. I'm respectful of everyone's opinion.
So comment.
Yeah, comment below.
Cross your path with us. What is it?
Daily crossing.
Have your daily crossing with us.
Exactly. We want to hear your philosophy, your perspective about any of the topics that we spoke about. Share the video, pass it around, make sure you like it, and let people know that some of the things that we are inviting you to pay attention will be helpful if we collectively, as Americans, we make an effort to pay attention to.
Let's do it.
So,
awesome.
Guys, thank you so much
Thank you
for being part of the conversation. Take care.